Hi, I'm Dr. Carine. I know you've been following carefully all of the coronavirus updates, and I just wanted to give you a little bit more today. All of this in the news is sounding very alarming to all of you, and you might feel like it's erratic and unplanned and unclear what will be happening next. And I want to just assure you that for those of us that have been aware of the pandemic preparedness teams, which have been in place for quite some time, that they have been practicing for today. They have been running simulation labs. They have had step-by-step responses based on how many patients are exposed and how quickly it is spreading and how many hospital beds each community has. This is not an erratic process. I know the news may make it feel like it is, but to the people on the ground that are actually working in pandemic preparedness, this is not a surprise. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, we are really fortunate to live in Ohio because Governor DeWine is really doing a great job at listening to the pandemic preparedness teams. He has brought in the experts and he has listened to them. And so we are very fortunate that he has been more aggressive than some governors in how quickly he is shutting down services within our state to try to increase social distancing. I want you to understand to expect more. There will be more shutdowns. There will be more restrictions. It will probably be very soon that we will not be having a lot of interstate travel, meaning like travel from Ohio to other states and other states to Ohio. And so I just want to remind you again that it is the job of our governors to protect us. And we think of ourselves as being one great big country, and we are, and our federal government holds certain roles. But when it comes to these type of pandemic preparedness strategies, we really function like a lot of small countries. So each governor has a lot of autonomy as to the way that they will manage their state. And Ohio is doing a very good job. If you don't live in Ohio and you're wondering, well, what about my state? Do press your communities, press your legislatures to say, wait, why are we behind what some of the other states are doing? So what else do you need to know? Well, I want you to remember that we're all in this together. We have a lot of things that we need to do as we go forward. We'll be spending a lot more time in our homes. We'll be spending a lot less time out in the community. That's going to be a stressor, and we're going to have lots of implications for that. We'll keep talking about that as well. What do you need to do to prepare? And what do you not need to do? I actually want to start with what you don't need to do. As part of the pandemic preparedness system, they have taken into account what does our country need to do to stay good during something like this. So if they're going to ask you to stay in your homes, what do you need? And they're going to make sure that you have that to the best of your ability. So utilities will stay on. This is not a natural disaster. There will be no interruption in your electricity or your water or your heat. All of those services are very top priority, and our government will be making sure they stay on. Groceries and pharmacies and essential services for you to feed your family and take care of your family will remain open. All of those will remain stocked, and the trucks will run, and everything will be in place for you to be able to procure food and all the things that you need for your family. So, do we need to rush to the store and hoard a lot of things? No, we don't. Those stores are going to remain open. They're going to continue to bring us the goods that we need, and we're going to need to be thankful for all the truck drivers, and grocery store workers, and pharmacy workers to be able to deliver that to us. What you really need to do when you think about that is when you take too much of a good into your home, you could put yourself and your family members or other family members at risk of not being able to procure those things. So for instance, if an elderly gentleman who's actually at a lot of risk goes to the store to buy something he really needs and there isn't any of it there, he'll then go to 3 more stores, increasing his risk of exposure and putting himself into a very dangerous position. We don't want that happening. So then what else could you do for that gentleman? Not only could you not leave things on the shelf for him, which would be a great idea, you also should be thinking about, could you drop things off at their house? We really need to keep that 6-foot distance because that is the droplet spread of this disease. What is 6 feet? Well, it's about the size of the length of a bed. A king-size bed is 6 feet on 2 sides, and a regular bed is 6 feet long. So about that distance between people that you want to protect that are high risk. Ask them what they need. Drop things off on their porch. Offer to run errands for them. High-risk individuals really do need to stay home right now, and we need to stay out of their homes. So we need to limit how much access we have into their homes. For you as families, if you have high-risk members, whether that could be grandma, or maybe it could be one of our pediatric patients who have chronic lung disease or some sort of cardiac abnormality that makes them at a bigger risk. I really want to tell you that there's going to be hard decisions ahead, but what you really need to do is, for the best of your ability, you need to separate the members of your family that are high risk and the members of the family that will continue to go out into the community. What does that look like? Well, maybe mom and the child with the special needs move in with grandma because dad needs to go out, or maybe dad moves out and moves in with a cousin or a friend so that he can go back and forth to work without bringing things back into the home where the special needs people are. I know those are going to be hard decisions, but I really do mean it. I think they're worth it, because as we go forward, our hospital is going to be overrun with a lot of patients, and we don't want to have our family members in that hospital when they're out of ventilators or out of services, and that will happen. We will have shortages in our hospitals. I know it's hard to imagine right now because the numbers aren't very high, but we are trying very hard to prevent them from being really high, but they will come to a point where we don't have enough beds. So they are not overreacting. This is what we're supposed to be doing. What can you do? Because sometimes it feels like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to do something. I do want you to keep your children well rested. I want you to read them stories and play games with them and make them good meals, because that's important for their immune system. We've talked about supplements. We'll continue to talk about that, but that's not on this video. And then help your neighbors. I think when you are in a crisis, you can really get very anxious, and anxiety is sometimes best cured by doing something for someone else. Think to yourself, who around me needs help? Who needs to be sheltering in? Who should be in their house and not out in public? And what can I do for them? Can I FaceTime them? Can I call them? Can I bring them food? Can I bring them supplies they need? And when you do that, make sure you keep that social distancing and hand washing and clean surfaces, and deliver it with a smile, but don't go in and share those spaces. Because as we've said before, asymptomatic people can spread this disease. So for high-risk individuals, they really need to stay out of the community right now. So take that moment to say, who can I help? The other thing is, some of us will have jobs that will continue on. Some of us can work from home. Some of us can work from the computer. And other members of our community, that's not going to be as easy for them. And so please be compassionate. If you do go out, tip your servers well. If you are in a community where you know someone has been laid off because this shutdown really puts them out of a job, offer to make them meals. Bring them things. We're going to have to work together. This is going to be a long haul, and I want all of us to be ready to support each other through it. And one of the beautiful things is when you do something for someone else, you kind of forget about the struggles of your own. So that's what we can do together today. And if you have any more questions, of course, we'll always be here for help. Thanks.